Hi Kerry. Come to ask you a few questions about your kids and the Rough Diamondz production. Can you tell me a little bit about how you actually found out about the production?
Okay. Lindsay and Corey went into their primary school.
Which was?
Danecourt Primary School, and I'm trying to think when it would have been. It would have probably been, wouldn't it, about September 10 time. Yeah. And Lindsay and Corey went into the primary school to explain about Rough Diamondz and that they were looking to get some younger people involved because they've got lots of people from sort of 14 upwards but nobody younger. And for the production they wanted it to be wider spread, they wanted it to be, you know, going from the age of 8 up to the age of 25. And they both came home with leaflets from school. They were both already part of a drama group that they attended anyway on a Thursday. And my daughter was okay with that. She didn't particularly enjoy it too much, but she was sort of doing it to finish a show they were doing it at the time and she was going to give it up.
Okay.
But then came home and asked if she could go and audition for Rough Diamondz, which was totally opposite to what she was saying about the other, but it was Lindsay and Corey and how excited she felt after their presentation when they'd gone in that made her want to go and do it.
Oh right, okay.
And that's how we found out, and I contacted Lindsay, got the audition pieces, and they both went and auditioned and got accepted.
Okay. So how did they actually find it? What were they like before they actually...
They were both fairly confident anyway within, you know, normal walks of life with everything. Aidan was far more confident as a performer. He enjoyed, you know, acting, he enjoyed doing things like that. My daughter didn't necessarily, even though she enjoyed the other drama group, that she would like to do some reading or narrating. She very much surprised me with how much she enjoyed the performing, and even though in the beginning when Lindsay had said to her that if she didn't feel confident enough she could have a job to do backstage, it could be costumes, she could help with staging, with anything like that. But once actually going there and attending and being with all of the other children, and well, not just children, not the children, you know, but all the whole of the group, nothing was going to stop her performing. She couldn't wait to do it. She really enjoyed it.
Okay, so how did you actually find the rehearsing? Because I know it always starts off quite relaxed, and then as the further it goes, it starts to become more intense.
That's it. When it started off first off, and it's just sort of once a week, and it's like a little bit of a social gathering for them, and that's fine. And then it built up to a couple of nights a week. Again, they were still fine. Then they'd have a night on a weekend or an afternoon on a weekend, still okay. The last run up towards the show, probably about the last 6 weeks, and the last week especially, where I think they were doing every day for about 7 days, was tough. But even though it was hard, they were tired, it was very hard, not once did they actually say, I don't want to do this anymore.
Okay.
Which I think says in itself that they wanted to be there.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. What about the performance? What did they think of the performance and the event on that particular day?
Fantastic.
So I know that everybody was buzzing.
Everybody there, and I have to say, for the whole cast, for everybody there, it was fantastic. Everybody was buzzing. They were on such a high, and I think by that time, the whole group, they were their own little community. And they had grown so attached to each other and so fond, and that high and that buzz, they absolutely loved it.
Okay.
They never had any. I worried at one point, not necessarily worried, but I think other people were saying to me about sort of the content of Rough Diamondz and their ages at the time, which I think they would have probably been about 9 when.
Started.
Yeah, about 9 when they first started, and sort of the subject matter and the content and you know, what you're exposing them to. And I thought, well, I'm exposing them to life. And I think it's shown that they have a better attitude towards things and understand things a lot more. But everybody afterwards It was absolutely buzzing. They were on such a high. It was fantastic.
Weren't they?
It was
They were jumping
wonderful.
around like jelly beans.
It was well, that was the first night, but the second night,
Yeah.
even then, I think because we went both nights. But the second night, after the first night buzz, and then they'd done the matinee one, hadn't they?
Yes.
And they were all so happy and so confident up there on the stage as well. The first night was fantastic. The second night was even better.
Yeah, there was a greater buzz on the second night.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely brilliant. They so enjoyed it.
Okay.
It was good.
So about after Rough Diamondz, in terms of the production and where they are now and that type of thing.
It was quite difficult for them to adjust. It was almost like a sense of loss.
Yeah.
And I know not just with Aidan and Tally, but with lots of the others.
Yes, definitely.
That I'd gone. Well, and it was such a big part of their lives for such a long time. Well, not so long. Yeah, but it was almost a good 12 months, maybe even a bit longer. It was such a big part of their lives that they'd done it all together, and they all achieved it together and were on such a high and such a buzz. The next day, and bearing in mind it was during the 6 weeks holidays, so it's, well, actually you can actually go out and play with some of your friends today if you wanted to. And they were, well, no.
Oh.
Nothing matched up, nothing was good enough.
Oh wow.
It was sort of, no, I don't really want to go and do that. And I think we were quite lucky because we went away on holiday about a week after.
Okay.
So that gave it something else, but they were actually quite low. Missing, tired because it had been tiring, but missing it. So then when they all went out for the meal together, and Corey and us were going, absolutely buzzing again to all be back together. And if you looked at all of them and you just go...
Their faces were glowing.
Oh, they were.
It was delightful.
Yeah, but no, they absolutely loved it and have missed it.
Okay.
And even though they both looked at they started secondary school in September, and they both looked at joining the performances there. They haven't so far, whether it hasn't interested them enough or whether it doesn't feel the same.
Okay.
I don't know.
So what do you think they've actually achieved out of it? Oh, did I say we've got the DVDs now? Did you get one?
Have you?
Yes.
No, I didn't get.
They're not wonderful copies, but I'll sort you out with a DVD.
Yeah, we need a DVD.
Yeah.
As I said, they were confident anyway, but I think one of the big things it did confidence-wise, because of the span of the age groups.
Yeah.
One, I have to say, the older ones, and I mean our teenagers get a bad press, don't they? But sort of, 17, 18, 19, when they all were rehearsing together in the Grand, and they were taking all the little ones off to go and get their lunch and looking after them in the town, holding their hands, crossing the road, and everything. They were very much a community, very much a group, looking after each other. And because of there weren't that many little ones, I think there were only about 7, weren't there, the younger ones?
Yeah.
And the rest of the group were all sort of 15 upwards.
Which is a lot more young. I think this is the first time we've had so many young people in the younger ones in the production. Well,
I mean, they started secondary school in September, and you sort of think, you're going into secondary school, and it's all the bigger kids, and as a parent, you're getting paranoid about it. But when I talked to them about it, they were like, no, it doesn't bother us, It's like, well, look at all our friends there that we had within Rough Diamondz, and because they finished that in the August, and we're still sort of, with the after things were still happening, still going to the parties.
Yeah.
I actually think, and I mean, as you know, they're both dots anyway, so they don't look like they're going to be going to secondary school. They are much more confident around older children, and I think that helps. Yes, they're more confident, but it means they're not intimidated by them. They don't feel, they're the bigger ones, we need to move, and whether that makes them less of a target because then they don't come across as somebody who's going to be easy to bully.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's weird because prior to that, talking to them about secondary school, that would have been something they would have brought up to say, they're all going to be the big ones, they're all older than us. Whereas finishing Rough Diamondz in the August and going into secondary school in the September,
they were ready for it.
didn't bat an eyelid. They just, and as I say, when I've spoken to them about it, no,
Okay.
it doesn't bother us at all. We're used to it.
What about you in terms of Rough Diamonds? How has it made a difference for you in terms of, or what do you think about the whole project itself?
I think the project was a very worthwhile project. I think it was very, very good. I think it got together a lot of different communities within Wolverhampton. I think it joined a lot of age groups and a lot of people coming together who wouldn't necessarily interact with each other in normal, in normal times and days. A lot of the sort of older ones, they're street cred, holding hands with a 9-year-old, cross them over the road. Yeah, right. None of that mattered to them.
No, it didn't.
None of that mattered. It was totally different, and I think for me, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed watching my children doing it as well. I thought it was, as I said, some people expressed concerns, about, and I can remember Talitha coming home and reading a particular scene and feeling, wow, she doesn't have to do that. Because it would have been really hard to watch, but equally, real life, and what people need to see and what people need to know.
Okay.
So I do sort of remember feeling a bit like that, but I felt actually really proud that they were part of the project, and really proud of the fact of sort of ignoring people who were saying to me, oh, should they be doing that kind of subject matter at that age? Yes, because it affects everybody the world over.
Yeah.
And I actually felt really proud of them and how they dealt with it and how their attitudes are to it now, because now they've gone into secondary school and they're doing the PSHE that they're doing. And of course, all of those kind of subjects, knife crime, racism, everything cultural, that's all coming up. And at Parents' Evening, their PSHE teacher actually says to me they've got very grown-up attitudes towards it.
Oh wow.
And I think they've been probably not exposed to it more than others, but made to think about it more at a younger age because of Rough Diamonds, and I think that was a really good thing.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, Kerry.
You're quite welcome.